Welcome to On the Couch, a regular catch-up where we discuss some of the issues and challenges facing media, marketing and advertising today and hopefully provide some solutions. Today I'm joined by Martin Cass, who's the CEO of MDC Media Partners and Assembly. Welcome, Martin.
Nice to be here.
Thanks for coming halfway around the world to sit on the couch.
Great pleasure. Beautiful weather.
Look, you've said, and probably one of the few agency people that have said, that the relationship between advertisers and their media agencies is at an all-time low. Mm-hmm. What is it that's driven us to this point?
I think the challenge has been mostly driven by the way that people make money and the exposure of that and the suspicion that that has set up. I think people are looking for the truth in many different fields, whether it be advertising or public life, and they're much more investigative and much more interested in what's going on. And when John Mandel stood up, don't forget he was an agency CEO, and said, "Hey, you've got to know this is going on." That set off a storm of interest around it, and an awful lot of people started to dig. And the more they dug, the more they realised that maybe there was something there. There was smoke and there was fire.
Well, he was ex-agency. He'd
been away for a wee while,
yeah. So maybe he had a moment of clarity that he wanted to unburden himself, because the ANA then came out and talked about transparency, and all we read about is everyone wants transparency. Yep. Do you really think transparency is going to deliver what people want?
I do, yeah, because what you really want to be able to get down to is what is actually happening and what is actually going on. Mm-hmm. So we look for, I said, transparency in public life. People don't want anymore for someone to say, "Don't worry, it's all okay. Trust me, it's going to be fine." Mark Pritchard uses a phrase which is "trust but verify."
Yeah.
Right? And it's the verification that's been causing the trouble, because clearly there are challenges in the market, and people have been doing things perhaps that they shouldn't have done. And I just want to be very clear, around the world there are very, very different rules, regulations, customs and practices. So on a global, I always talk about this on a global basis. It is not, I don't think there is any illegality.
No.
Right? But there is contract compliance, and contracts haven't been written very cleverly over a period of time. That means there is plenty of room to wiggle. And the trouble is you start to wiggle in areas that clients start to look at and say, "I don't like that." It may be contract compliant, or it may even be we're transparently untransparent. I think clients aren't putting up with that anymore.
My concern about ANSI is that the focus seems to be primarily on transparency of cost in the supply chain, and eliminating all of these rebates and kickbacks and commissions and things. But isn't the truth that media is now more measurable and more accountable to performance than ever before? Isn't the best use of transparency actually to be able to somehow start to calculate media value?
That's the real argument, okay? There's the good versus evil piece, which is very good for headlines, very easy to make a big story about it.
And most of the discussion in the media.
And that has been the most discussion, because it's easy to understand. It's simple, sound bites, easy headlines. The real issue behind it is you can measure everything now, and you should. And the digitization of media has essentially meant that most media is spitting out vast quantities of data. If you are making that data dirty going in, you're the agency, you're the people who are supposed to be giving best advice, and yet that data may be dirty going in, the advice you're giving is going to be questioned because the mathematical models are using data that's not basically correct.
Yeah.
That's
garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
So how have you rethought that media model? Because you've come into market now with quite a different an offering, aren't you?
We started 4 years ago, so we were in that wonderful place of starting in a world which was very different to the one that everyone else has started with. If you go to the United States, the previous scaled startup, there have been lots of smaller ones, but a scaled startup was Cara. Mm-hmm. And Mark Zuckerberg was just entering Dobbs Ferry Junior High School when that was formed, and I was right in the middle of a lot of that. And so the world has changed substantially. The digitalization of media has made a lot of things, a lot of companies both on the buy side and sell side, really question their business model.
Yeah.
So when we started in the middle of that. So we decided to start with, if you like, to be a data company that buys media, rather than a media company that happens to use data to help them make decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually started with a principle that data was going to drive everything, heavily influenced by Moneyball and various other parallel worlds like the trading world of finance.
Yeah. Is that getting traction with clients? Because I imagine the idea of measuring value and performance will.
We've grown threefold in 4 years.
Not bad.
We've done all right. You'll keep your fingers crossed. People say to me, how is it? I said, well, sometimes it rains and sometimes it's sunny, but the umbrella's okay at the moment. So I'm always very careful to say, is it the be all and end all, and are we the be all and end all?
Yeah.
I do think it is the way that media and marketing is going to be basically driven.
Yeah.
Simply because the chief investment officer and the chief marketing officer are becoming closer and closer together. You can understand so much more about what's going on. And let's face it, a lot of CMOs in the past have been, you've got to trust me, this is really good. Now the financial world will not allow them to be, they need to be much more accountable, and the data allows them to be more accountable.
Yeah.
And we have great examples of working with companies like E-Trade, which is an online trading business run by people who are banking.
And numbers.
Yes, and we've done work with them whereby now that business is growing extraordinarily quickly, and our business is growing extraordinarily quickly on the back of it.
And
so
that's
the way it's worked, which has it's been using that evidential approach and fact-based to get a fact-based marketing approach that they continue to prepare to, in their words, invest in.
That's really exciting. Thank you, Martin.
Thanks
for sharing it with us.
Cheers.
And thank you for joining us on the couch. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and stay tuned for more On the Couch coming very soon. Thank you.